Good day, everyone. Well, we've got markets defined here. We've got a bounce in European markets as well, and we're seeing that S&P 500 broke well below the critical support level of 1775, and on volume, it's managed to retrace back close to the level currently, and then we also have the PLP this morning. We got
sounds like I'm having trouble there.
It's saying, well, bit break. Yeah, no, it could be the Wi-Fi is a little bit weak today, so it's probably that. Let me know if I continue to break up.
All right.
But we've got pundits kind of one camp saying that the S&P should go level at 5, and then we've got others saying that the NASDAQ should bounce here at 4,000. But really what determines direction is how the central banks manage the flow of quantitative easing. And we've got the head of the ECB saying that he's comfortable where things are at right now. I think the markets were hoping he would ease even further. There was speculation about that. It's just saying that the Mario Draghi was saying that he's going to keep things where they're at, even though there was speculation that he might increase the flow of quantitative easing and lower interest rates even further. Meanwhile, we've been tapering, and Mario Draghi implied when he gave a speech today that the Fed should certainly not continue taper if economic conditions show that there's continued pronounced weakness. And so all the central banks we know are working together in this QE front to prop the market. Go ahead, Gil.
Yeah, the bottom line is you're looking at the market here. Let's look at the S&P 500. By the way, I'm using freestockcharts.com, which are roughly real-time data. For those of you using eSignal, which is what I use, it's down, and so we don't have our eSignal today. I'm actually on I talked to them early this morning, and they said they were having authentication issues and that they would be up shortly. So far, they're not up, and that was at 5 a.m. this morning, my time, over 3 hours ago. But I'm actually sitting in a chat room waiting to talk to a customer representative, and I started out at number 304 in the queue. Was that right, Dr. K? And then now I'm 84. So it's probably during this webinar I'm going to get to find out what's going on with eSignal. But that said, I think the markets, I was in cash overnight because the markets did what I thought was pretty obvious. Everybody's talking about, well, I'm not going to get bearish until I see the NASDAQ break 4,000 or the S&P breaks 1775. So everybody knows what all the support levels are, and once they're broken, it becomes obvious that you're set up after coming straight down off the peak like this. You're set up for a bounce. So it doesn't surprise me, and you've got some stocks like Yelp today moving, and that's helping to get things rolling. But in the grand scheme of things, you had the NASDAQ undercut this low, this 39.79 low, and that's on top of this little area here. So you've been coming down. How many percent did we come off the peak, Dr. K? Like 6 yesterday, intraday?
Say that again. You broke up.
How many? What was the question? I already forgot the question. I'm getting someone in the queue now talking to me.
The NASDAQ's been just pelted.
How many percent off the peak were we on that? Yeah, thanks for that. So I'm getting
over 5%.
Yeah, so you come down 5% hard, and that's a pretty good drop. You haven't seen a drop like that in a long time. You undercut this low, so this is the so-called critical support level, and it sets up a bounce. I mean, if anybody following on Twitter yesterday, as soon as it did that, I said we're set up now to bounce, and of course that's what happened. So, we've seen this picture, this movie enough times to know that you're going to get a bounce, and you know, it just seems normal. And you're coming up. This might be a someone saying that they actually just got turned on. So, maybe they're starting to turn people on. I guess I'll find out once I'm number 76 in the queue. What an exciting day, huh? And we'll see what happens. But you can see you're coming up. You undercut this low, and now you're bouncing. This might be resistance up around 40.75 on the NASDAQ. If you look at the S&P, maybe resistance shows up somewhere around 17.75 now. But you've undercut all these lows, and who knows? Maybe you start off on a rally, and we get into a new rally phase. So that's where you're at. You came down for a while. There were some shorts to play. I thought Cree, we talked about that. Nice break. It's went into self-immolation mode on Monday and broke down. But you get down to these lows and you start to turn off the lows. But over the weekend, I didn't really think that you were going to make a huge amount of money shorting, because as Dr. K says frequently, the QE is still out there, and even though they're talking about tapering and speeding up the taper process, interest rates are still low. There's still a lot of money sloshing around, and of course, money is running out of emerging markets, so it may go into the U.S. markets at some point. So that might be what you're seeing here, and so that's that to me that sets up the potential for a bounce here. So I don't really see anything here as being abnormal. It all looks pretty normal to me. So the big stories today, obviously, Yelp. Today opened up, and you could have bought the Bible gap up. If you look at this thing, let's kind of shove it down here. That's quite Bible this morning. And I would have to say that's the one thing that eSignal screwed me up on, because I'm not going to trade heavy when I can't see what's going on in real time, on a consistent basis. So while the freestockcharts.com is nice, what I should have done this morning is go in heavy around 83, 84, but since I'm too busy trying to talk to customer reps and coming up with a solution for the webinar, it distracts me. So it costs me money, so I'll cuss out the customer rep when they finally do show up. But that's what's happening there. Yelp is the big story. Twitter getting bombed. I don't know. I had a friend who's a former hedge fund manager telling me that you got to be owning Twitter big, because people don't understand just how big of a story this is. I guess it's not that big because they're hammering it today. But again, my view is you don't need to play earnings roulette on any stock. You can wait. I mean, even if you look at Yelp, for example, you didn't need to come in and play earnings roulette. You could have just waited for the Bible gap this morning, and if you have a good quote system working this morning, you could have been on the stock and making money, and it's doing pretty well right now. So anyways, what are the other stocks that are jamming today? Oh, you got Green Mountain, Coca-Cola taking a 10% stake. Do you remember there was all this talk at one time about Coca-Cola buying Hanson's beverage or Monster beverage now? And everybody was getting excited about that. Stock ran up way back when. Let's see. Here's a nice thing I like about this system is you can really compress it. But that was way back in here in 2012. Starting to come around, but that was the big story, at one time, and it turns out that they end up taking a position in a stock that you wouldn't have expected them to. But this is a big gap up. I don't know if I'd be buying this. A little bit problematic, but it is a viable gap up. If you bought it, you'd be using the 100. Let's see, what's the low here? 99.57. So that's looking good. But, there have been a number of viable gap ups that have been occurring even as the market's heading lower. And they're working. So you look at Under Armour. That had a viable gap up. It ran up, flagging real tight here. 10 days trying to catch up. That looks fine. Harman Industries or Harman International. Same thing. A viable gap up pulls in, and it's turning and going higher. Coors pulled in, and it's moving higher. So it's holding. You had a pull down yesterday. Got about I don't know, a couple of percent below the intraday low here, which I think was 89 right on the nose. We got down to 88 and change, so really about 1% on the pullback after the Bible gap up, and that's working. We see yesterday we had data, which is a volatile, relatively thin stock. I think that thing traded pretty wimpy volume. Let me see, check that real quick here. Average volume 588,000 shares. You're starting to see a pickup in volume over the last few days. So the buying is huge, and to me this looks viable, but you might expect a little bit of flipping around in here. So you might give the low here maybe 3% on the downside. So 89 down to 3% from there would be another 240. So take it down to about 86, 60. So that's where you could be buying it off of here, using that as your selling guide if it fails. But big gap up move. We'll see how that works. Go ahead.
Yeah, as we've noticed, some of these Bible gap ups have been working pretty well, and even though the model's on a sell signal, that doesn't mean, as we said in the FAQs, it doesn't mean that you abstain from buying any sort of stock. The market direction model is designed for case, but individual stocks, you got to take them on a case-by-case basis. And in terms of your position sizing, I mean, there's nothing wrong with creating a rule that says I'm only going to go in with a partial position while the model sells signal. Nothing wrong with that. Or you could just position size depending on the context of how powerful the gap up is and how powerful the story is, and the price volume action that preceded that gap up. Of course, that would give you more insight into whether you're going to take a partial or a full position. And so, in other words, and the MDM can be on a buy, sell, or cash signal, but I personally use the conditions of a stock to tell me how far in to go. And if we're in a nasty downtrend and a stock isn't right, the more fuel for maybe why the stock should be bought, because it's actually resisting the downturn. So matters of context into account when you're deciding whether to buy or not, and how far to get in.
Yeah. So my view is you can treat the market more as a market of stocks rather than a stock market. That's something I've been saying for a long time, and I think that's the case with most of these. And you're seeing some of these, like Facebook is a Bible gap up that's holding up, so they're not breaking down. So my view is if you see the market turning, this is really where you want to be looking at buying stocks. Now, Facebook might need to go sideways longer and have the 10-day moving average catch up. But, with Twitter getting bombed, a little bit of the luster is coming off of the social networkers. But LinkedIn up a few bucks today, 217.61, I think is what's shown right here. But it's trying to come up through the 50-day, which is the blue line here. And you can see you're running into resistance there. They come out with earnings after hours. So what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a 50% long position in LinkedIn and also short a 50% position in LinkedIn. That way, if it goes up, I can brag that I was long, and if it goes down, I can brag that I was short. And net, it's a risk-free trade. So all that is to say that there's no reason to try and play earnings roulette. I would say, though, that the pattern, it looks pretty grim. It's been in a downtrend. It's not able to get above the declining tops trend line. If we wanted to draw, let's see. I'm looking at my tools over here. What do they give you? I actually think this is a pretty good system. For somebody who doesn't have access to real-time charts or what they consider to be nice-looking charts, this is actually pretty good. You can keep a watch list over here and click on things to see what's going on and just scan through. And I think this is actually pretty good for free. So anyways,
TWDR.
some news on Twitter. Let's see what's going on here. Not much. This thing's dead. I mean, this is brutal. This is an early stage failed base setup. So that's a new one. Alexion's another Bible gap up that you had, but the stock tends to be volatile. But notice it's also hanging in there. So nothing really brutal about that. Gilead came out with earnings yesterday. Stock tanked. It's still holding this breakout, so there's no real issue there. These are some of the better stocks. I was thinking over the weekend, I looked at some of these. I thought, for example, that a stock like Finisar is building let's kind of blow this up here. Was building a nice cup with handle over the weekend. You had a pickup in volume here, and you got support. In this case, I got to look at this and see if I can change my weekly setup. But if you're using a moving average 10, that would correspond to the 10 weeks, so we can use this magenta type line here. You can see it got support off the 10-week line, and the volume picked up. But then yesterday, the last couple of days actually, the stock has just been getting hammered, and broken down below the 10-week moving average. I'm number 62 in the queue now, so I'm keeping one eye over here. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. They come out with earnings in May. I know Sienna was another name that was acting well. It's trying to hang out, but I think what killed most of these was Alliance Fiber Optic, which got smacked after earnings, and that looked like it was trying to roundabout, but it's been crushed. So that group seems to have the kibosh put on them for now. Juniper's another one that was a viable gap up. This is actually holding up okay. This may be the better name to be looking at here. So anyway, some other names people are asking about. You got a breakout in MU. I noticed this stock, it's actually been on my watch list because it's been holding very tight along the 10 and the 20-day. Notice how it tends to hold the 20-day moving average, 20-day exponential actually, and it's doing okay. So someone's asking about egg. Well, this stock's a dog. You violated the 50-day here, and you broke through the 10-day here after a pretty strong move. This, in my view, if you had this stock and it broke out and then it fails here, that's where I'd just be dumping it. So EOG. Wait a minute. What was that? That was actually that was Lockheed. No, what's that? What was that? Egg? Why is this not coming up? Legg Mason, never mind. Scratch that. EOG, this is trying to come up around, you got like a pocket pivot here. This is a roundabout sort of pocket pivot. Yeah, I don't know. It's an oil and gas stock, so hard to say that it's going to turn and run here. FLT Fleet, they must have come out with earnings or some kind of news. They were looking pretty grim there for a while. Now you're back up, but that's too straight up off the lows for me to want to buy that, so I'm not really interested in it. It's interesting, though, that it is a very sharp move back to the upside. LITB, light in the box. Well, I see where you're trying to find a roundabout here, but I think, this is a cheesy little Chinese stock, and you had a huge gap down here. I don't think I'd be messing with it. There's no real pocket pivots. You could say that is one right here, but I don't know. This to me is too risky. I don't really see anything exciting. It's not a big stock by any stretch of the imagination. Skyworks. This stock had a viable gap up but failed and came back into the 20-day. It's kind of a thin stock, so I don't know. I don't really get that that excited about it. I'm going to let's see if I can do this here. I'm going to put a 50-day moving average on volume here. You can see it now. Palo Alto Networks. This one's been looking good lately, but it's just kind of traveling sideways. You had a big move up, so my expectation here would be that it's got to go sideways and sort of work this sharp move to the upside off. That's what it looks like too on if you go for a longer term chart. So you have some resistance up here around the high, so it probably just needs to go sideways. I wouldn't get all excited about it. I mean, most of these names you guys are showing me, they're not really things I'm looking at today. I got a very strict buy list today, and Yelp is there. AER looks fine. This stock's trying to come out. You had a pocket pivot here. We talked about this with the airlines acting okay. Love is still hanging in there along the 20-day. American Airlines is still moving to new highs. United Airlines is hanging in there. It looks a lot like Love. Delta Airlines is also hanging on. So all the airlines are doing okay. I think AER is a cousin play. That, of course, brings brings up Global Eagle Entertainment, which is still building a base. It may be that, this is a pretty big move, so it's going to need to go sideways. Support is probably along the 14 up to, say, 1440 here, as you can see on the chart. That's probably where support is. Maybe you're making a little double bottom. It's going to try and come out, but it's kind of lost its luster. And I would say that makes sense for most stocks. There's only a handful of stocks that are acting well. Those are the stocks that stay on my radar and that I am looking to buy if the market turns, So not really rocket science. And there's just a handful of those. But AER I think looks pretty good. I think there's another stock that might be related. I got to check this real quick. Wesco Aircraft Holdings, where someone mentioned that one to me. I actually got an email question, and someone was asking whether, and this is interesting because it's a beginner. They're saying, well, there's these three spikes in volume in the base. This is a weekly chart, and I thought you're supposed to see volume drawing up. I mean, to me, this is indicative of how a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous. What you're really seeing here is every time the stock pulls down into the 10-week line, it gets buying, and it closes in the upper part of the weekly range. So that's actually constructive. That's constructive action. But stock's pulling in today, so nothing really exciting there. Let's see. Somebody's writing, explaining that AER leases aircraft and engines and is looking good with volume and gap upheld. Yeah, it looks fine. I mean, that's it on the weekly chart, so that's a nice flag, and the stock is actually holding up fine. Let's go back to a daily. Oh, wait, what are they saying? You can go, oh, I see. You can use these keys. Okay, I'm learning how to use this now. I have to kind of refresh myself on this. Let's see. They will reset your password. Okay, Dr. K, you're going to have to get on there, it looks like.
Well, I mean, the earnings have been accelerating nicely, and we've got sales negative, and now there's positive, but the group ranks 38, and everything, the thing looks good. I mean, on the weekly and on the daily. Looking here, if we've got some pocket pivots in there. It doesn't. Well, it looks like we had one on 29th of January. So it's breaking out of the sideways. It's potentially actionable. And the other aspect is the market has found on a lot of stocks, and the market tends to find a floor in very quiet ways, like it has in the past with the markets moving higher.
Dr. K, I was trying to tell you that some people are saying that yeah, you need to get on eSignal chat and they can reset your password. So that's what they're saying. I'm number 52 in the queue, so hopefully they'll be able to reset my password very quickly. So,
eSignal chat.
Yeah, if you go onto the eSignal page, it's support, and there's a chat, an area where you can click on a chat.
Okay.
So meanwhile, your audio is still funky. I don't know what's going on. Maybe you have some Russian spies from Sochi showing up and messing with your
soaking up my bandwidth.
Yeah, I was watching it last night, how people land and immediately they're being hacked. What a great place. And the hotels. Why do they have the Olympics in Russia? And I think Russia's just a great example of why we need more socialism. I hope Obama and his minions and all the goofy Democrats, left-wing nutcases in Congress can see what socialism gets you, and the whole state-run thing. Russia's running the Olympics about as well as the government's running Obamacare right now. But in any case, I don't know. I was thinking maybe your internet problems were related, but I'm probably just being alarmist. Does anybody know? Did anybody read the Wall Street Journal yesterday? I thought it was a very interesting article about how there was an attack on a power station. I guess it was a relay station south of San Jose, and these guys in the middle of the night had cut these lines so that there could be no communications with the power station. And then snipers use rifles or AK-47s. They found like 150 shells. They use them to shoot at specific parts of the relay station and knock it down and knock it out. And that relay station was out of commission, and they had to go around, have a workaround situation where they brought up other systems and were able to reroute power. But that stuff is scary because the government's pretty clueless, I think, when it comes to all of this. They're expecting some sort of obvious terrorist attack where they hurl bombs or you have a suicide bomber. But there are a lot of other ways they can do things, and they're very, very interesting. But nobody knows about this. I don't know if it was suppressed or what, but I think that was an interesting event. But in any case, just since the topic's coming up, and as you all know, I love to ramble. And the other thing is this market, I'm not really sure what there is to be playing exactly. Like I said, if you're on the Yelp this morning, you're doing pretty well. So let's see, I'm 48 in the queue, 46 now, so I can't wait to cuss out the e-signal rep. They cost me, let's see, I would have bought 10,000 shares right there at 83, say. Got 8 points out of it, so they cost me 80 grand. I'm ticked. Damn it, no sushi for me today. Let's see. Some more stocks. ACAM, another gap up move. Look at that thing. That's a huge gap up move. I watched this thing after hours. I saw it trading around 49.50. I thought about buying some shares after hours. I should have. Hindsight investing is always 20/20. You guys might notice also along the top, I got this is my focus list for today. I think something like a line, for example, is a short. It's a late stage failed base, breaks down through the 50-day, get the rally back up into the 10-day and the 20-day confluence here, and now you're sort of bear flagging. To me, this thing looks like it wants to go lower, so I'm almost tempted to put out a position in its short here. It looks like it wants to just flag lower, a little bear flag, and it's been trying to hold along the lows. But you can see I can look at all the stocks that are on my watch list today. Netflix acting well, coming off the 10-day. Do we get a pocket pivot? I guess we'll see by the close. I'm number 45 in the queue. Oh, I'm getting excited, Dr. K. Biogen holding up, one of the few biotechs along with Gilead to hold up. Regeneron also pulling back into the 50-day. Don't they come out with earnings pretty soon here? Anyways, Akamai, you guys like Akamai?
Yeah, it's supposed to.
CR.
You can.
Very soon.
There's a pattern. Bible gap up. Could be. So server farms. So this could be a big area. I don't know. I hope nobody held Amazon into earnings. That was kind of a disappointment. Big breakdown. Stock trying to get support here. Yesterday I was on the chat room and the stock was trading around 344, and I pointed out to everyone on the chat room that I thought it's a little bit of a radical idea, but it's based on my studies of short selling situations. Stock breaks down, undercuts this low yesterday, and so it undercut this low simultaneously with the market. And when that happens, it sets up a undercut and rally situation, something I talk about a lot. And you could trade that. You can try and trade that. So once it sets a low on the day here and it starts to turn up through this low, which was 341.88, so if you're buying, say, 343, 344, you could use that as your quick trailing stop on the downside and try and get the trade out of it. And it would have worked. You would have gotten a few points, a few skrillas, some people like to say on the chat room. But you can see how that works. But you can also see that it's logical that Amazon might be forming a left shoulder here, a big head, and now this is a right shoulder that's going to have to form out. Maybe you get a rally up into the 360 area. So, there are ways that you can trade these. And since I've been using a very short-term method in this market, you can sort of surmise that, if this pans out, you're going to get a rally here, and it's going to turn and go. So O'Reilly is another one that's having a viable gap up today. So, it's typical, earnings roulette. So you can buy this when your stop here would be 140, 193. You're a fair bit away from it, though. I don't think I'd be messing with it. I'm number 36 in the queue, Dr. K. I hope you're in the queue. What number are you right now, like 400?
Yeah, down slowly.
Slowly moving up. You'll be there by, tomorrow. Anyways, let's see. Oh,
Pretty much.
you guys might also notice on my list, NQ is looking okay. That's setting up very nicely, actually. And to me, it looks okay. If you look at it on a weekly, you see these charts aren't really too bad. I kind of like this. Let's make it look prettier. There we go. Stock's been holding along the 10 week. Remember, on this chart, the magenta line is a 10-week because they're not letting me change my settings for a weekly or daily. I'll have to check into that. I'm number 34 in the queue now, so we're on Q Watch, E-Signal Q Watch this morning. But stock's holding up okay. I mean, you can see here 5 out of the last, well, you might even say 6 out of the last 7 weeks, stock's been up. So it's holding up. You had to pull back into the 10-week line here, and not much volume off of there, but it was about average, and so it's holding up. So it's continuing to build a base. Maybe it doesn't do anything until after earnings. Someone else says, E-Signal just reset my password and I am back up. Thanks for that, Brad. So at least we know what to do. I mean, they could, email you and tell you what's happening. Let's see if maybe my E-Signal's up. I'm going to try and bring it up. Maybe they magically reset it through the power of osmosis.
You would think they would be able to.
Well, you'd think they would just do a blanket reset. Why the hell do they have to have you contact them to reset the stupid thing?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, when I get in, I'm gonna tell them to reset both of our passwords. So I know what your password is, so you don't have to blurt it out over the webinar, so everyone else can see it. Somebody says that cyber threats to power grid are really scary. Someone else says, sounds like a Tom Clancy novel, doesn't it, though? VIP shops. VIPs. If you like a crazy, wild, volatile ride, VIP shops is your stock. I mean, this thing, I watch this thing, it runs up to 110 or 109 here, then it breaks down all the way to 94 here. Now it's trying to work its way back up. It's just in a base, but this thing kind of has had a big move, so it's sort of up there. I'm looking for new merchandise. To tell you the truth, I do like this data. Maybe I'm all wet here. It's hanging in there. It's holding the lows of today, and it may just need a couple days to set up and go again. But I like this mainly because you're coming out of essentially a first stage base, I think. I think you have enough of a correction here to form this cup, and you did have some pocket pivots. I don't know why we weren't on this one sooner, but we weren't. So sue me, but here's a pocket pivot right here, sort of gapping up off the 10-day. I'd actually have to say this is a better one right here. There's your roundabout pocket pivot. Stock comes in a little bit, holds a 20-day, and you're off and running. So I think this one looks okay. We'll see. Maybe a little bit slow. So that's my only long position right now. If I could, I would own Yelp, but because it was moving so fast, I don't like to jump on something that I think is moving too fast. And I can't see what's going on with a very clear picture, and have some fast quotes working for me. So right now I'm actually using Schwab quotes on an iPad with my free stock charts as my real-time dailies and weeklies. And then, of course, for intraday charts, I use stockcharts.com. This is the 5-minute setup with the 620 thing. Hopefully you guys can see this. It's let's see. I think if you do this, if you add periods, it makes it bigger. Yeah, there we go. You can see this. It's almost starting to round out here intraday. It's carrying in from yesterday, but you can see basically the stock just gapped up and it's trying to go. It's going sideways and it's consolidating. But you came off the lows here. A little bit of a small MACD stretch. So I thought I could come in this morning and buy a little bit. I think I was on the chat room when I was doing that, so anybody there. But that's what you're looking at now. But this is basically my stopgap. You remember, Dr. K probably remembers when all he had were 20-minute delayed quotes. And you can make money doing that. You just can't jam things. You can't come in and do a Gilmo, 200% position if you're not able to see things in real time and able to move fast. I'm just not comfortable doing it. So anyways, MPEL, these stocks had big moves and they all got smacked. Las Vegas Sands got smacked. The one that came back was Wynn, and it's acting okay. You might call this a big pocket pivot here, but it's very V-shaped, and so it did correct that by coming in, so it could have been bought the other day. I actually had put this on my watch list, but market's still kind of funky. Let's see, I'm now number 29 in the queue. I guess they're moving through and getting everybody set up. So if we can get this going during this webinar, I can switch back over to eSignal. Let's see here. CRM. I noticed a pocket pivot in this the other day right here. You actually got, here's a V-shaped pocket pivot here, and then you get another one here, and this stock is moving higher. So I think this whole group, you know, I would throw in Workday, I would throw in Data, these are all looking pretty good. Workday today, that's on my watch list. I thought it's buyable off the 20-day. The last few days, every time it came down in there, I'd be buying it and then trading it for a couple of bucks, and that seemed to work. And then today it gaps up, but it's got some resistance about up in here. I still would be looking for it possibly to come off the 10-day after going sideways. You notice how it's volatile? I'd want to see it get tighter. So things get tighter, they look much better to me. Anyways, let's see. Okay, now that I just said I like Data, you guys going to push it up for me? So I actually did have it yesterday. I was trading it on a 620 chart, but it came in and out, and so I just bailed out with a small profit and decided to see where it pulled back this morning. Splunk pulls down into the top of the breakout here. Down here was the pocket pivot, and that's the nice place to be in. This thing broke down, went right back to the top of the base, bouncing roughly off the 50-day and trying to come up. Not a lot of volume today. I don't think it's really, let's see. Yeah, they come out with earnings in a couple of weeks, I believe, towards the end of the month. But, you know, just kind of hanging sideways. So it doesn't look bad. Let's see what it looks like on a weekly chart. The only thing is it's probably not going to go anywhere until after earnings come out. So you're playing earnings roulette. So support off the 10-week line, though, a couple of weeks. And this week here had a heavier volume. We're only, well, we still got another day after today on this one. We'll see where the volume ends up. But, you know, holding up okay after breaking out here. But again, you're going to be playing earnings roulette on this puppy when it announces. This says the O'Neill data says 228, but we know that's usually wrong. So let's take a look at this. Splunk reports on February 27th. So there we go. Let's see. Oh, I'm still in number 29 in the queue, so hanging in there. Would you consider buying stocks during this downturn if fundamentals and technicals look good? Well, like I said at the outset of this webinar, my whole approach to the market is not based on what the indexes are doing. My whole approach is based on what individual stocks are doing. So I watch the stocks. And the thing is, when the market does try to turn, the stocks will tell you more than the indexes before the indexes will. And so if you're focused on the very best acting stocks, I think that you have the potential for making some money. And so, you know, we'll go back. Let's do this again. This morning, you know, the market's bouncing, big move in Yelp, and could have been bought, and you'd be making some pretty nice money. And I bet you there's a few of you out there who are right now. Okay, here's the question. But, you know, that's to say I just go with the stocks. So, I mean, look at some of these. HAR, forget Apple. Harman, UA, these gap ups are sort of working. So Facebook sort of working. Stocks hanging out tight, you know, volume's trying to looks okay. But this is a question someone asked me yesterday in the chat room. And so since you're the study guy, Dr. K, have you studied the follow-on success of BGUs under various market conditions? As if you can gauge the magnitude of a market condition. So my view is, in a bad market, buyable gap ups like any other buy signal are going to have a lower probability of working. In a good market, they're going to have a higher probability of working. And from what I've seen, buyable gap ups that occur out of a first stage base tend to be your better ones. When they start occurring after a long run, sometimes they can be a little bit exhaustion-like. And so to me, it's not a matter of market conditions. I mean, obviously, unless you're a moron, you know that if the market's in a downtrend, the probability of any buy signal working is going to be diminished. And if you can gauge how bad a sell-off is compared to any other sell-off, then please let me know, because I can't really figure that one out. I can tell you that the trend is up or down. and that's about it. But Dr. K, can you answer that? Have you studied the follow-on success of viable gap-ups under various market conditions? Did I just cover
the
it?
studies reflect all that, and it's apply viable gap and pocket pin products and buy signals. If you have the weight of the market against you, then your success rate is going to be less. So again, it comes down to
You're breaking up again.
Position size different to reflect adverse market conditions.
Right. So if the market is a little funky, then you would be taking smaller positions and acting on these in a less aggressive way. If you're, I guess, anybody but me. But to me, that the answer to that seems pretty obvious. So I have to give Scott a bad time because he's one of my favorite people to pick on in the chat room. So. And I think he just asked these questions to get me riled up. So it worked, Scott. Anyways, someone says, I saw an article about ISRG being a robotic play. Well, great. Don't invest on the basis of articles. I mean, ISRG was a robotics play like, 6 years ago? Now I think the stock's got some issues. And you can see that, that's what it looks like on a long-term basis, not something to buy. So you don't need to pay attention to articles per se to generate your investment ideas. I think if you're looking at a universe of stocks where, for example, I look at composite rating over 85. Every day I look at an HES investor, and I just look at the stocks and groups moving up. And that's all I look at every day because a lot of the names in there will not fit standard CAN-SLIM or O'Neill characteristics, but they will work. And that's how I found stocks like Solar City last year and Tesla long before they started their moves and long before IBD was on to them. HGS Investor was blaring them at you on that daily screen. So really all I look at are stocks with a composite rating of 85 or higher. I look at the daily stocks and groups up on volume. I think it's just stocks and groups that are on the upside. That's the list. And I look at that every day. And then you might want to have an IPO list. So in other words, be keeping track of all the new IPOs that are out there. And HBS Investor has a list, a ready-made list for that. So, I think the resources are out there to find stocks. I don't think you need to be going on what articles tell you, I think once a journalist has figured out that Intuitive Surgical is a robotics play, it's probably not. So, I mean, I played Intuitive Surgical way back when. Someone says, my signal reset all by its lonesome. Okay, maybe that means mine will too. Doesn't look like it. What did you have to do? Did you have to did you have to restart your computer, or did you just restart the program? So if you could let me know there, whoever that was. Someone says, I just tried it again and it worked. They must be slowly going through users, so I'll be up soon enough. I'm not really going to worry about it. Somebody asks, somebody says, Gil, I love your tone as you read stupid questions. I know, I get pretty obnoxious. My kids think I'm really obnoxious. My son actually came home with a C, a midterm C grade on one of his classes the other day, and boy, did I go ballistic on him. I told him I didn't even know how to parent something like that because C's are just not in my vocabulary. I think when I was a kid, if I had gotten a C or a B on anything, I would have committed Harry Carey. Probably Dr. K too. Let's see. Yeah. But as it turned out, there were a couple of assignments that the teacher had not counted, and so that's back up to an A. So I'm not making him sleep in the garage anymore. So he's back at being able to sleep in his own bed, and I threw out the bed of nails that he had to sleep in for that. But C's, I don't know about that. Anyways, somebody's asking me about Workday. I just talked about it. I'm assuming that's an old question. NXPI, This is moving nicely. Did they come out with earnings today? Let's see.
NXPI.
NXPI.
Well, I can't tell from Wanda.
No, you got to go to
They
briefing.com or go to HES Investor. Will have the right date on there. I'm watching the line trade right now. Coming down, starting to look ugly. What is that? All you guys shorting it? Home builders have been showing some life lately. Yeah, they have. I mean, the overall patterns are like that. That's D.R. Horton. So it's, coming up the right side, but there's really nothing set up. I guess you could have tried to buy in here. Toll Brothers, is a little better. It's near the top of its pattern here, but for the most part, I don't know. It's they're neither here nor there to me. So there's some talk of housing, a resurgent movement in housing sales, but I don't know. I'm not really that convinced, frankly. I still think you've got a pending mortgage crisis. Someone's asking about. Oh wait, I better check my. See where I am. I'm number 21 in the queue now. This I'll probably get on when this is all over with. Yahoo, I don't like Yahoo. I mean, never really cared for it. It was moving up, but it's a breakdown now. So there's really nothing here. It violated the 50-day here, and I guess that's what you would be using as you're selling it. So that thing's done. It violated the 50-day. I would have been selling it if I owned it and I had bought it down here. I would have been selling it there. So. Kihu 360, whoops, get that right. Number 20 in the queue, ooh, getting closer. I guess they come out with earnings pretty soon, and I guess in March. It's choppy and sloppy and trying to hold a breakout, but I don't really play with this stock. It's kind of sucks in my view. I don't know, it's just too volatile. But I don't really see anything coherent in the pattern. FSL. Is what is that? Freescale semiconductor. This one's starting to look interesting again. Long-term pattern looks like that. It's very choppy, very sloppy. Maybe after this gap up move, you're getting a better turn in the stock. Earnings were up 227% on an absolute basis. It's looking a little better. Sales turning around. So it's starting to kind of form up a little bit. You could maybe try and buy this using the intraday low here at 1705 as a stop. That's a possibility. So still number 20 in the queue. Dr. K, you want to talk about GLD? I don't see anything going on here. It's trying to get above the 50-day moving average. It's holding above it, and it's just kind of back and forth. I think it's more of a crisis situation. More than anything. So Oregon Novo, quack, quack. It could be at the lows of its base right now. So, but remember what we talked about last week is that what you want to be seeing here is you want to see this thing tighten up because it tightened up in here before it launched. Tends to tighten up in here on the weekly chart. So now you're holding above. Well, you're below the 10-week, but maybe we should try a 20-week. It looks like it's holding there. It seems to hold that one on the weekly. But it's going sideways, so I think the lows are probably in
OCN.
On this. And that's pretty much the deal there. I'm going to try restarting my other laptop and see if I can bring up my e-signal that way. Someone asks, do you position size the same way in a down market or do you smaller size? Well, I don't. If I see something moving and I want to go after it, I take my usual position size. So I don't really discriminate on that basis. But, if you're in a funky market environment, you could use you could go with a smaller position size. But, my view is if you're going to start doing that, why bother, if you're not going to have any conviction in something and you're going to play a tiny position size, well, if you're right and it goes higher, you're not going to make much money. If you're wrong, you're not going to lose much money. So, I don't know. I don't like to live in a half-assed mode. I don't like to trade half-assed. So that's just me. But I guess, if you're scared, then I suppose you can you can do something like that as a general rule. Yeah, NXPI beat by 4 cents, beats on revenues, guides Q1 in line, blah, blah, blah. That looks good. Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of these now. Do you know where we can find multi-year seasonality charts for stocks or sectors? I don't even understand why you would need that. Why do you need a seasonality chart for a stock? I'll just take the regular chart, so I have no idea. Go on the internet and ask. Dr. K, is the UVXY still on a buy signal? I guess it is. I mean, if you're on the website and...
Well, it's still on buy. But you can check, just goes to the results page, and that'll tell you where the signals are at.
Yeah, there's a weekly chart on it, looking at the daily. I'm number 18 in the queue. I'm so excited. Soon I will be operational again. Here's the UVXY. I guess you're on a buy signal. It went on a buy signal, what, Monday? So that's here. So you're kind of running close to it. I don't know. It's pretty volatile. But it is still on a buy signal. FireEye, this is what it looks like on a daily chart. You'll notice you've had a nice run up right along the 20-day moving average. This could be a spot to step in. Volume's drying up, so it actually looks okay here. I've been watching. I'm thinking about coming in off the 20-day. It's that has been a line that's worked for a lot of stocks on pullbacks, and it looks okay here. So, but right now, if you're looking at the weekly chart, stock's in a short flag formation, so there's nothing wrong there.
OCM.
But it could definitely come up off the lows, I think. So that's in a good spot as far as I'm concerned. I'm watching it today as well. So let's see here. We'll look at LinkedIn. Still going. Tesla. Someone's asking, is Tesla a pod? You won't know until it breaks down or breaks out, so I can't tell you ahead of time, but so far it's holding up, so I'm not going to try and short the stock here. For all you know, they're going to come out with earnings and go higher. So Candy, this is the favorite one. This one, I don't know. It's based on one game. I guess it's an app or whatever. It's a game called, what is the game called? Candy. So I'm not a buyer of this thing. So it reminds me too much of Zynga. I don't know. Here's Zynga, whopping $4, but that's what Zynga looks like on the pattern overall. So I don't know. I'm not really a buyer of this one. Data coming in a bit. It is. Well, it might slop around in here. We'll see what happens. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let's see. SWNs. Southwestern Energy trying to come around and trying to move to new highs, but that's extended, so there's nothing really to do there. You can't buy that thing. Let's see, any more questions? No, looks like I'm number 17 in the queue now, so we've got a few more minutes if anybody has any more stocks they want to look at. But, I think... in general, you're in a bounce, and so you're going to catch some stocks on the upside. You may not make money in others. You saying something, Dr. K?
No.
Okay. Somebody's asking, for Tesla, would you look for a breakout above 189 or 194.5 or just wait for after earnings? I would wait till after earnings, but the thing is, we put out an alert on the stock here when it was coming up off the 50-day on a pocket pivot. And that's worked. So that was really the only buy point as far as I'm concerned in the stock. So I don't think you really need to be chasing it here or thinking you need to buy it until earnings come out. But you just have to see what it looks like at that time. I would say that you don't really have a base in here.
Yeah, it's a bit late to be buying up here.
Yeah, and so you're 1 week down so far in the pattern.
Throw that on top of it, the risk with the earnings. We've seen stocks like Amazon can look good right before earnings, but in this kind of market environment, you also crap out after the report.
ADS, pop on earnings. Alliance State, I've seen this one before. it is, it's a V-shaped move, so I'm not a buyer of this stock. So DBA, this is your agricultural. These things are coming up fast off the lows. Wonder what that's telling us, if anything.
Recover economy.
Or inflation coming, I don't know. Kiwi.
Is a big trend for a long time.
What's that?
And so it's been dip trends for quite some time. It looked like they were, on balance, they've been in long-term deficits.
Yeah.
Well, to see a break of that long-term downtrend would imply that there is a recovery taking place.
Or it's just a bounce off the lows. That's pretty ugly on a long-term basis. So I don't know. I'm not going to buy it up here, though. I wouldn't buy Kiwi off the bottom. Why would you buy Kiwi off the bottom? There's no pocket pivot. It hasn't rounded anything out. So what are you smoking, man?
Yeah, it's suicide.
Solar City hanging along the
volatile
20-day. Solar City just waiting for earnings. So I'm number 14 in the queue. Oh, boy. Let's see. Illumina is just hanging up, not doing anything, just going tight sideways. So there's nothing wrong here. That's another stock holding up well. So I don't know. My data is starting to fizzle out on me here. Not making me happy. Let's see. Oh, well. I bought a full 2,000 shares. That's just a killer. JKS, there's nothing here, things violating the 50-day, so I'm not a buyer of that at all. Any other questions? I think for the most part, the better stocks you're seeing hold up, and there's a few things out there that look viable. Still watching this, and this guy's coming in pretty fast. I may have to dump it here, but I'll give it a little room. I mean, I'm in around 88 and change, so it's not, $1 is not going to make or break the trade. The other thing to think about is, do we get potential for coming down? Let's see if you're going to bottom out and turn. So just keep an eye on it here. Let's see. Any other questions? No,
it's like we timed it well. You're about to get on the E-signal.
I'm number 13 in the queue, so let's see if they magically turn me back on. Will you hold into NFN payroll? Hold what? I don't know. I have a little tiny position in data right now, and that's it. And so I don't know about holding into I don't get into like holding or not holding into the payroll number. Why would you go on the basis of what your stocks are doing? So the idea that you would buy or hold stocks going into a news event like a Fed meeting or a payroll number, that alone should not dictate what you do. It would have to be the action of the stocks themselves, and and where you're at with it in terms of profit. I mean, I don't necessarily think that the jobs number is going to be that much of a market mover. Okay. So for those of us who did buy Yelp at open, would you discuss money management from here? Well, I think you should keep your money in a savings account and have some. What are you talking about? If you bought the stock here, discuss money management. What do you mean? As in take profits, add here. What you have here is a Bible gap up. The low is 82.38. End of story. You're up at almost $8 on the thing, and what do you need to worry about? So I don't know about money management. It's like, okay, if it breaks below the low, then you're stopped out. I would say that's about it. So not sure what else you're managing besides that. So it's not that complicated. You got a stock that's working, and you're up, and you have a clear stop-out level. Hopefully you got in close to this low this morning, and it's working. So you're in a nice place. You're in a happy place, and I don't think you have too much to worry about. So, but I'm glad someone bought this thing. So I'm number 12 in the queue now. So I just can't wait to unload on this signal rep. Anyways, last question before we hang it up. It's 9 o'clock. But bottom line, you're in a bounce. There's some stocks acting well. I think they can be bought. They might just turn out to be trades. Just kind of see how they go. And just take it from there. I don't think you're in a new uptrend just yet. But if we do come off the lows sharply, then the stocks that have been acting well, like the Yelp, for example, are the places where you probably want to be. So that's all I have. Dr. K, you got anything else? I guess that's a no.
With this QE floor, that seems to be materializing, but really that's where our focus is going to be in terms of market direction.
Yeah. So that's that, and we'll catch you guys next time. Be alert. I may be in the mood to do an after-hours review using HCS Investor software sometime in the next few days, just to kind of see what the trolling for new names or names that are acting well, if the market's going to try and turn off the lows here, to see exactly what might be setting up, where you might want to go with particular names. So with that, I noticed data coming up off the lows a little bit. So we'll see what happens here. I say load the boat. It's going to turn around and head to 140 easy. Anyways, that's all we got. Thanks for showing up again. Sorry about not having e-signal charts today, but don't blame us. Blame e-signal. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care.
So long, everyone.